My name's Peter Ward. I'm the Chief Executive of UKWA, the UK Warehousing Association, and it's my pleasure and privilege to be moderating the sessions today and chairing this that was described to me as a fireside chat. I think that's how it appears in the programme, which means it's my great opportunity to try and emulate Michael Parkinson or Andrew Marr or someone like that. Let's crack on. Up on the stage with me is Julien Callede. Julien was the founder of a company called Madecom, which Julien is going to tell us all about. He tells me that he's now moved more into a non-executive role because based on his great experience of founding this business, he's now involved in some other startup projects. So I guess the best place to start here, Julien, is to say welcome. Tell us about Madecom.
Sure.
What is it? How did it all come about? And what can you share with us this morning?
Okay, thanks, Peter. Hi, everybody. So, yeah, I'm Julien. I'm actually one of the 4 founders of Madecom. We were 3 exec, 1 non-exec at the time. Madecom, if you're not part of those people who know us well because you're taking the tube in London or have been retargeting for 8 years on Facebook, Madecom is an online furniture brand, as simple as that, whose mission is quite simple. It's to make good quality, good design furniture affordable to everybody. So we launched in the UK 8 years ago. We were a team of 4 people. We launched a website with 2 items, a beautiful ash table called the Oliver table.
Did you start in the UK?
Yeah, we started in the UK.
Started in the UK.
Fully in the UK, fully online. And we stayed in the UK for like the first 3 years only. And I used to say we have 4 jobs, and we had 4 jobs, making it slightly complicated. The first one is we're a furniture business. We need to know how to manufacture furniture, how to source it, how to ship it, how to make it work. We are a design company. We are an e-commerce company, and we are a supply chain company. And we especially innovated in 2 of those to try and build that model. That was not e-commerce. E-commerce is I'm sad to disclose it to everybody here, e-commerce is not innovative at all. It was not innovative anyway in 2010. But we had to be slightly innovative in the design process on how we develop products and in the supply chain too. We manufacture now in quite a few countries, can't remember how many, but half in the Far East, half in Europe. The supply chain bit of the business at the very beginning was quite specific because we were making a big bet that we would have so original items and we would be selling them at such a good price that we could actually come up with an item, put it on the website up, and pre-sell it, and tell people this stuff would usually cost £1,000 or 2,000, let's say £2,000 on the market. It actually costs $200 to manufacture, but the way the supply chain was managed 10 years ago with like intermediaries on all those guys was making it £2,000 for retail. And by the way, the worst part was everybody was losing money. The furniture business like 10 years ago, the industry was like super tough. People were losing cash.
So is there any customization in the product at all?
So there is no customization. So people used to think that there was a bit of customization because the second part of it, and that was at the very beginning of the business, and we relaunched it a year ago only, 6 months ago, yes. Sorry. We were enabling people to vote for the items they wanted to see manufactured. But that's actually the opposite of personalization. Because what we need to be dealing direct with factories and what we need to be buying cheaper to offer good prices is volumes. So we were actually curating a small range of products. We've been developing 10,000 items, more than that I think over 8 years now, but the range is not that large. The range has been growing with our sales volumes and our ability to sell more. We can't be selling 1 of each of our sofas per month, doesn't make any sense. You can't buy from the Far East if you do that. So we started with like 2 items. On the second week we had like 4. We had 2 coffee tables. On the third week we had like 9, and then 10, and 15. And we grew up like that. So it's been 8 years. It looks like a straight line, and it looks like an amazing business now, blah, blah, blah. It's never been a straight line, as everybody who's been running a business knows. It has been complicated, and it's always complicated. It's a team of 400 people now.
Wow.
We've been only in the UK for like quite a few years, and now that we have even when we decided to launch international, we had the teams in the UK to try and work better and share best practices, which is already hard when they were in the same office. So if they were in different offices, that would be complicated. Now the local teams are local, and well, we usually don't give too many figures, but it's been public since Sunday as we re-raised a new round of funding. Companies turning over roughly 140 million euros, growing 40% year on year, and that's been the trend for a few years. And we have an amazing team managing it, which is good.
Yeah, sure. So let's sort of start with the front end and work back a little bit. So how did you've talked about the sort of design and obviously sourcing internationally, bit of Far East, bit of Europe. Let's go to the other end then, to the front end. How did you get this product into the market, and what challenges did you have around putting that out there? Did you develop your own technology to do this, or have you taken sort of off the shelf?
So do you mean the selling, the retail, the website?
Yeah.
It's pretty simple, to be honest. We build a website on a tech that existed, which is called Magento. You can build a website on that. It's a shop platform. So we build the front end, and then we started selling, and then we realized pretty quickly that front ends don't help you fulfill orders, and you can't be fulfilling like 1,000 orders a day on Excel. So then we built the back end, and we linked them both. We didn't make too many mistakes at the very beginning, but then after a few years, you have to reshuffle the way you manage your IT integration. One of the big challenges when you grow is grow your your operations on your systems, but front end it's always been one online shop. Okay, in the UK, one online shop. Then we developed showrooms, but it was one online shop. Even though e-commerce is not very innovative, on e-commerce was the only way for us to make our business work, because with one shop on one inventory hub, we could actually target the whole UK market.
Yeah.
If we had 100 stores and we had to bring 3 of each item each time we were launching them to every store to have a bit of inventory, that's much too much risk on a business for new ranges. What we can do online is, I'm just like launching a new item. I'm pre-buying 10 of those, and I sell them. And if they sell too quick, I buy some more. But I don't need 300 of those. Okay. So that it's very simple, but that helps.
So you started with coffee tables.
Yeah, tables, chairs.
Tables, chairs, beds. Just to put some kind of context around this.
So we've always been quite good at furniture. When I say furniture, is bigger items. There is that kind of rule. I don't know whether it's a rule or a statement that will show you that even big retailers that have offline and online will sell furniture online. 70% of their online sale will be furniture. On 30% it will be accessories. On offline, that's going to be the opposite, because smaller items or more of an impulse buy that you buy in a shop, bigger items make more sense buying online. And by the way, one of the big paradoxes in our business is people tell you can't be selling sofas online, because, by the way, if you want to sell a sofa, people want to sit on it. They want to touch it. They want to feel it. They want to ensure that you have the right quality. And that's true. At the end, we opened showrooms in 2012, but the quick story is that even before opening our first showroom in London, 50% of our sales were upholstery, sofas and armchairs. Why? Because by definition, a big item is something you get delivered to your home. So it makes sense to buy it online. So I'd say online is the channel to sell. How you market it, how you acquire leads, on how you convert them. And when I say convert, the showroom is a good branding conversion tool. Is different. Yeah.
So let's move on to your logistics architecture. Let's call it that then. So how did you set that up? And did you do that in-house, or did you use a third-party provider? Did you go to a centralized distribution center? How did you set up your logistics and fulfillment model? So
I was actually running operations for 4 years, and I knew nothing about logistics. That was interesting. Nothing about logistics on deliveries, on customer service. The good thing with logistics, though, it's a very common sense business. If you are very common sense, if you're very customer orientated, and if you're rarely into numbers and rarely willing to work, which is the case of most of managers on founders of companies, that should work. We are a very integrated business in the sense that we do everything, almost. So we design, we retail, we manage customer service, we do all that stuff. The only things we don't do is the manufacturing itself, which almost nobody is doing. Take the biggest furniture company in the world for lower quality items, but that's IKEA, and they don't even manage their factories. They subcontract it on the run the factories by the volumes they buy. And we don't manage warehousing on deliveries, and this is outsourced. So we've always had, it's almost always been the same guy, almost always because the first warehouse partner we used went bankrupt after 3 months with all our inventory locked. But we've always used a third party who was managing receiving the items, unloading containers, storing items if necessary, and dispatching items. And then we were also managing, but directly, never through the partners or delivery companies. I don't know why. I've always seen that even though 3PL tell you that they're going to have much better prices because they have much better volumes for your delivery partners, we always managed to get like 20% lower than they were getting, even when we were small. Maybe we're good at selling it.
And that, I mean, that operation on the kind of furniture that you've got in your portfolio here, I mean, that's a fairly specialist operation. So what sort of challenges did you run into in finding that partner to handle the warehousing and fulfillment?
So we had two main issues. We were looking for the first warehousing partners, three, the third being the one that we didn't know the business. The first one is we were a young company with no background. There are some fulfillment partners that you might be good at selling, they will just say, not now. The second one was that you don't have that many people specialized in furniture warehousing. You have a lot of people specialized in small items.
Yeah.
But furniture, no. So we actually found somebody who was doing white goods, which was the closest thing to furniture for us. And we went to them and we grew with them. I mean, the partners that joined us after 6 months, not the first one who went bankrupt, are the ones we're still working with at the moment. So after 2-3 years, we outgrew their warehousing capacities, and we had to make a choice between leaving them or working with them to help them grow. And they knew us, and that was perfect. And we finally decided to go find new warehousing capacities in the UK next to where they were, but they would run it. And that was a great deal we found. That's for the warehousing.
So you took on those liabilities, those leases, effectively on the.
We had a specific deal with them. We were sharing a bit of the risk.
Okay.
And then delivery. I mean, the other, actually the biggest pain point is deliveries. And that's been very frustrating because even though we had a cool business, a great brand, we were growing super fast, we were innovative in a lot of things. What was the biggest pain point, and what almost got us to hit the wall at some point, was deliveries. And I was like, seriously? Because that's supposed to be a commodity. I'm paying somebody to do that. But delivering large items is a mess. Most of you will know that. The two main issues when you deliver large items is they break during delivery, and people don't want to pay for it. They don't want to pay for a delivery, and the delivery will cost you £50-ish, or 30, or 50, or 100, depending on the country. In France, to deliver a sofa, it's €100.
And the deliveries are being managed by the same partner, yeah?
So when we launched in the UK, we had 3 partners to do deliveries. One for the very small, one for the very big, and one for all the awful, dodgy items in the middle that cannot go through a conveyor belt, but are not big enough to require 2 men. And we've always done that.
Okay, from a single warehouse.
From a single warehouse, and we were telling the warehouse on a day-to-day basis what to dispatch onto who. They were not managing the whole process.
So what's your kind of lead time promise to the customer then? Customers finding you through your marketing, finding your website, seeing a nice piece of furniture they want to buy, placing an order. What's happening in that cycle then in terms of fulfilling that customer order? And is that part of your USP against some of the other furniture retailers out there? Is it speed of delivery, or is it reliability, or is it? I mean,
Okay.
just talk us through that whole delivery cycle.
So first, the USP is not lead time. The USP is unicity on value, not to say price, unicity, quality, and value. And as we had such a great deal on there, people were accepting a longer lead time, because actually the lead time at the beginning was 14 weeks. So that's not quick, that's long. But that was not a problem, because that was the story, and that's how you get items directly from the factories on everything. Now the big thing we've been working on for like a few years is lead time. And now on average it's 2.5 weeks in the UK. And when you get to the product page, we tell you how long it's going to take, depending on how much items or how many items are available in the process, whether they are being manufactured, whether they're on the way, whether they're sitting in the warehouse.
So you're not selling from stock then?
We do partly. We decided to invest in some lines. Would it be because they are best-selling lines, or because they are small items which sell better when they are on very short lead times? We have inventory. What we've seen though is, on that, I think that's one of the big specificities of two-man deliveries, and I know you had I think you had a panel on like same-day delivery just before. I was not there, so I don't know what was said, but I think for large items, the focus is less on speed of delivery. I'm not talking 10 weeks and 2 weeks. 10 weeks is too long, 2 weeks is normal. But I'm talking next day or same day. And it's more about quality of the service, choosing your delivery date, getting a time slot, on being accurate about it, on not overselling it. That's what we've seen.
Okay.
A lot of people don't want to get their sofa tomorrow. That's actually a problem. If you tell them it's coming tomorrow, that's a big deal. They're going to have to email you straight away telling you can't send it. So, but giving them the choice is good.
Yeah. One thing we did sort of touch on in the earlier session this morning, Nigel from Sainsbury Argos was talking about they had a bit of a debate as to whether to outsource this or to keep it in-house, and they felt that keeping it in-house was going to, enable the customer to touch and feel the brand dealing with one of their own employees rather than an outsourced employees. And I think this is a sort of ongoing debate that we all have. You've obviously gone to the partner here for the specialist kind of two-man delivery. Yep. What else is kind of special in that relationship then?
So,
with your delivery, your home delivery,
yep.
Tell us about the challenges in your home delivery.
First of all, we actually looked into having a delivery fleet at some point, which doesn't make any sense, because we were three founders, we were learning our business, we knew part of it, we knew furniture, we knew e-commerce and everything. But at some point, delivery issues on the potential delivery partners out there costing less than £80 to deliver a two-man item were doing such a bad work that we had board meetings discussing whether we should raise 5 million and build a delivery fleet, which is not our business. And we looked into it. I did chat with a great guy called Ray who built Ocado Delivery, and he came and he helped us to look into that. And at the end of the day, we decided to do something different. We decided to partner with smaller delivery partners for two-man in London on kind of get them to do white glove deliveries with our branding. We tried that for a while, and at the end of the day, what happened is over 8 years, the quality of the delivery partners out there and the quality of the service evolved quite a bit and is slightly better now. The metaphor for that is I couldn't understand 8 years ago why a two-man delivery partner could not send an SMS to the customer when the van was arriving. And how that's a bit of the tech was there.
How specialist is that delivery? I mean, we talk in the industry about two-man delivery, white glove delivery. I mean, are you unpacking the product? Are you taking the product upstairs? Are you putting the bed in the bedroom and taking anything away? Are you taking the packaging away? I mean, is it really down to that?
So for every
you
large
the
items,
carpets in my house when I order a piece of your furniture for your drivers to walk over my carpets. How much are you doing in that final mile delivery?
So I think there is a minimum service requirement which you cannot skip. it happened that we decided that some items could fit into like, you know, the DPD size thing and would be shipped one man, and then we realized it's just like 30, who lifts like 30 kilos in like three steps of stairs. So for big items, they all go to man. On two man is always room of choice, on is always removal of packaging. I'm not saying that delivery partners sometimes don't do that, and we have fights with them, and the customer is unhappy. So that's the minimum. And we've been looking into assembly and all those other services, and I think they are getting live on the website now, or they just got live recently. But the reason for those kind of services, which are not it's not a cost for you to add, because you can get people to pay a premium for assembly of a bed. But the reason for a delay in implementation in such services for a lot of retailers is tech.
Yeah.
It's just tech.
So just to give us a sort of broad brush, on your standard delivery then, what kind of percentage of the sale price is the cost of delivery?
It's very hard to say because we subsidize delivery in a way.
Yeah.
The price you pay for delivery on the website is lower than the cost of delivery for us. We don't want to make it free because at the end we're going to have to inflate the product prices too much.
I'm talking about the cost to you in the business.
It depends.
Anyway,
Depends on the item, but
it
it can quickly be. I mean, the cost of delivery compared to the cost of a product can often be 20%, 30% for a large item. So compared to the price of it, it's going to be 15%.
Yeah. So I was sort of driving into a little bit of detail there with Julien, because for us to understand, you know, what's involved in this final mile delivery, to sort of move the conversation to the next stage. So you've got a successful business, you've launched in the UK, you've built up your product range from a small number to how many products in the range, and then you decide to go international. Okay, so tell us about how you then transport this model from the UK to several countries in Europe.
Okay. So we have we've developed maybe 10,000 items plus, and I think we have, depending on the country, 3,000 to 5,000 SKUs on catalog. We only keep the ones that sell quite a bit. We're developing new SKUs every week. That's kind of business model too. So the reason why it took us 3 years to go international is because it's hard to ensure it. First, we told our board month after month, because they've been wanting us to go to France, US, India, China, Brazil since day one. We've always said we have a complicated business. Logistics is part of it. Building a brand is part of it. E-commerce is part of it. So it took us time. And at some point, we decided to launch in the most obvious country for us. We were 3 French founders in the UK, so it didn't make sense, but that's for the story. And we decided to go to France because it's very close. We could have a warehouse which is an hour from London, in north of France, on an hour from Paris. And when you launch your company and where you're running it, that makes a big difference. We were French, we knew the market, and the market was quite similar in a few things, including payment methods, on cultural, on customer behavior. Then when you go international, I think you have 2 kind of brands or retailers. You have those retailers who can actually expand 20 countries at a time, because they have small items which can be shipped internationally, which is not our case. And they have a brand which is already strong enough, or that they don't need to build. We need to build a brand in a country to be profitable. So we need to build awareness in every country we're in. And by the way, we also need volumes, because if I go to a delivery company and I give them no volume, there is no deal. So we had to do it one by one. So we launched in France in 2013. We decided that we couldn't fulfill everything from the UK. It didn't make sense to ship stuff from the UK warehouse to France, either transiting them or shipping them straight from the UK. So we opened a new warehouse with a new partner in north of France, and we found 3, actually at the time 2, new delivery partners, and we replicated the model with best practices on everything, but we just duplicated the model country by country. And then when we launched in other countries like Netherlands and Germany, we looked into opening new warehouses locally, because that's the debate you always have. Do you open new warehouses or do you ship from the same warehouse? Opening new warehouses is going to be good for your P&L, because it's less costly than to do the final mile. And you don't have goods transiting, but it's really shit for your inventory. Yeah. Even if your inventory is virtual and is being pre-sold while it's being shipped, it's still inventory risk. So,
and are you single sourcing at this point? Have you got one supply chain inbound from your manufacturers in China?
No, I have
You're aggregating
let's
the
say-
volume
let's say-
to drive
yeah.
the factory price down, but how are you managing that inbound supply chain?
I don't aggregate the volumes either inbound, nor inbound. I mean inbound, outbound. It's
Really?
country by
Yeah.
outbound is country by country, product type by product type, and then of course it goes through hubs. Inbound, it's full containers from each factory, from each country.
To each country.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who try to replicate that kind of business, like aggregating, merging items. When you do like aggregation of items, you're gonna find a lot of partners doing that, but products break because they've been like handled a
Additional
few times
handling,
in China, Vietnam, in the UK or in Europe. It's very costly. It's not efficient. Suppliers hate it. They want you to buy big volumes by big volumes. That's the deal. Otherwise, you'll never be able to design your stuff. So no, everything comes from one factory. I mean, 80 factories, but like each factory to either France or the UK. So it's 2 destinations per factory.
Okay. So look, we can take some questions from the floor. Again, it's a little bit difficult seeing you guys under the lights, but just shout out if you've got a question. Otherwise, we'll sort of carry on.
Somebody at the back.
Is there someone at the back there? Okay.
Hello there. Just wondering, how do you manage your returns policies, and how does that affect your business model?
In the UK or international? Both. So the UK is pretty simple. It's one of the big messy thing that I guess that's the reason of your question. First of all, the return policies, people can return their item if it's broken or if they don't like it within like 14 days. The problem being that then we collect it all the time. It's big items, so they don't have to bring it anywhere. We collect it, which is still complicated for customers because that means they need to be home. So they're always, or most of the time, offered an option to keep it for a rebate if they want to, they choose. Then it's collected. It's often broken during transit because you can't force them to repack it too well. You try, but it's impossible. On everything that comes to our warehouse, it's actually it's now not in the same space, but it's checked, repaired if possible. If repaired or if good condition, is repacked. What we noticed at the very beginning is a lot of items come back and they're in good condition, but you don't have the packaging anymore. So now we have packaging operations and we have cartons on everything. So it's the same in France, it's the same in Europe. For international deliveries, to be honest, I haven't cracked it for people who would sell in 20 countries. In our case, what we have in a country like Germany, where we don't have yet a warehouse, is you still have a hub where your items can come back, so that they don't have to go back to France and go back again. It's handling on damages, on costs, and you can't leave the items to the customer, otherwise there will be fraud on abuse. So they come back to a local hub, and they're checked, and they're repaired, and they're resold. The problem here, and the only challenge, is IT. How do you manage your inventories, and how do you dispatch something from that inventory on the core one? It's quite basic.
Do you have you noticed any noticeable behavioural differences across the different countries? I mean, are we right in assuming because we've perhaps evolved this whole e-commerce business in the UK probably a little bit faster. The growth is faster in the UK than it is in France and Germany and the Netherlands and so on. Are we right to assume that the French and the Dutch and the Germans behave in the same way as the consumers in this country?
So it's 2 questions. Is the delivery similar? I think it's quite similar. I think people are quite similar in the way that the first thing they're looking for is, unfortunately, price, and then service, and then accuracy, and then speed for large items. You have a few local differences, but the best way of looking into it and knowing what the local difference is, apart from reading reports, I think more efficient than that is look at what the competition is doing there before launching a new market. Just like call them, like call the customer service of that German company and ask them how they do deliveries and what are the options on what people like. Say you're a customer. They always answer, by the way. That's the best way of knowing who is delivering for which retailer. But you have cultural differences. Rarely linked to delivery, except in Italy, where they want to pay cash on delivery, and you shouldn't do that because that's expensive and awful, and you get a lot of returns. But cultural differences are more, on payments, they are either on payments, you pay differently depending on the countries. French, UK are very similar. It's debit cards on PayPal. Italy, bank transfers. Netherlands, the same, but it's automated and you have partners to do that. Germany, a bit more exotic on Klarna, a lot of different stuff on invoices. So it's that, and then what's slightly different too is the return rates, but they're actually, it's a paradox for us because so return rates are quite different depending on the country. So the UK is quite okay, but then France is even low, and Italy was actually super low. And we thought Germany would be 3 times higher, as it's 3 times higher than other countries when you look at fashion. It's been the same, exactly the same as the UK.
Okay. I'm just conscious of time. Do we have one final question from the floor for Julien? Yes, we do.
Hi there. For large items, as you say, it's really tough in the UK to say we can deliver your sofa tomorrow. It's like, oh my God. How do you do it internationally? Because you have all the timing in between to organize with the customer in Germany.
Yeah.
What options do you offer to the customer?
So the route we chose is to localize our operations. I think for our business, it doesn't mean that we haven't looked into having an international checkout on send sofas internationally, and I think DHL or FedEx can actually do that. It's very expensive. I think that it's not a B2C experience, so it's complicated. You can. We've chosen to be local. So for us, it's local, so it's local deliveries, and they have the same experience as in the UK. In Germany or in Netherlands, where we do not have a local warehouse, what happens is it's just logistical constraints. If you don't have a lot of volumes, you get a truck that goes from your French warehouse to your German delivery partners once per week, then twice per week, then every day, then 3 per day. If it's once a week, you add 1 week lead time to any other country, so that's a bit of a pain. If it's every day, you add like transit lead time, and then you refine it through being more local and moving your hub.
Great. So just to wrap the session up, Julien, what would your one piece of advice be to anyone in the audience that has got a model, maybe like your own, fairly sort of complex model in terms of final mile, that's thinking about going internationally? What would the one word of advice be? Would it be that keep it local?
It really depends on your model. What I would say first is take your time. Just to enlarge the debate slightly, I think one of the worst reasons to go international is because you need to increase your sales and you haven't managed to sort your business locally. So please don't do that. So sort your business model in the UK, then learn from that. Then take your time, plan it well, plan it well. And we made mistakes, but we made stupid mistakes that we shouldn't have done on payments, for instance. Then one basic thing that people don't often do, as I just said before, is look at what other people are doing, look at the local best practices, and then if you have a brand that you need to develop, be local. It's local on delivery, but we also realized that even if we were 3 French people launching in the UK, sorry, the day we launched France, we had a good momentum, but until we went there day to day and did some PR went to see our partners on a daily basis, that didn't work as well as even being French as from the UK. So we started with all the teams in London, and now all the local teams are in the countries. And they manage customer service too, directly, and they manage their logistics.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, I think the message was take your time, plan it well, keep it local. Will you join me in thanking Julien for what's been a very fast 30 minutes?